Hey everyone, I'm Shadowfoot,
Unsun.
Grayson.
and we are Attack of Opportunity. New YouTube channel, new group. We're just kind of getting into things. We're just your average group of gamers, except maybe a little more stupid. Uh, just play any kind of game, mostly D&D, because D&D is the best game. So we figured we would do a little bit to introduce ourselves and the new channel, just so that you guys, when you stumble upon us before we actually do anything, you can at least know what we are and what we're going to be, just so you can maybe get excited for the stupidity that will ensue.
And we're just going to be talking about different aspects of tabletop games, usually. And, just stuff we like, interesting stuff you can do with them. Maybe give you a couple ideas to use in your home campaign and whatnot.
We'll do assorted things involving D&D.
Yep.
We're making our certain characters that pretty much describe us ourselves, and we're going to be playing through our own little campaign, or not really a campaign, just random encounters. We're going to swap the DM between us, and just random encounters, have fun on. We'll record that. We're going to try and work on skits, although that's going to be probably the toughest
Work in
thing.
progress.
Yeah,
We'll leave that as a work in progress. But for now, to introduce ourselves, we came up with 10 questions that we have an order of how we're going to answer them. So you guys can get a feel for, what we play like, how we think. Just get to know us a little better.
And you can pick your favorite.
Yeah, me. Those guys, don't worry about them. Okay, so starting off, what got you into D&D? I got into D&D probably, let's see, whenever I read a book called The Book with No Words in It. Uh, Seems a little backwards for a book named The Book with No Words, but it was like this really interesting fantasy story that really connected with me. And then after that, I was talking, to people at fantasy, and that was my gateway into fantasy. And then Drist came up along there somewhere, and then I learned more about Dungeons and Dragons till I joined a group later, and yep, that's how I got in.
Juice to Witch.
Yep.
I myself, how I got into Dungeons and Dragons, it's been pretty much a part of my life since I was young. My mother was a huge fan of Dungeons and Dragons. She would tell me stories about how her and her friends would get together and they would just play Dungeons and Dragons all night, and she would even tell me some of the stories of their encounters and stuff. And so ever since I was young, since I could understand English and since I could speak, I knew about D&D pretty much. But I never really had the chance to play because, well, I didn't have any cool friends. They were all lame, played video games and stuff. And it wasn't until I was like 16 that I got to play, but I was glad when I did, because damn is D&D fun.
I didn't play D&D when I first started. I actually played Palladium, which plays a bit like second edition D&D, minus THAC0, which is confusing. But that was when I was like 14, and I'd always loved D&D. And I had played the old Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance games, as I'm sure everyone has. Those are good games. But I didn't actually play D&D until I was 19, when I met this guy and played the playtest for 5th edition. And that was my first time playing D&D, and after that I was just hooked on just D&D.
I think that was the first time I played D&D with you as well.
It was.
We talked about it a long time, though. We wanted to, but
Yeah.
we couldn't get a group together.
Baroness of Thorns, man.
That was fun.
All right.
Mage handing a picture like, come here!
All right. The second question, was what was the first edition of D&D that you originally played? And for me, it was 3.5, and that was when I was 16, and I was close friends with this guy, Odin's son, and he had a D&D group that I had been wanting to play with for a long time, and we finally was able to get together and get my character made, which was probably the most half-assed character creation I've ever seen in my life. Like, that was honestly horribly disorganized and really dumb, but we got the idea of D&D, and we're definitely a lot smarter with it now.
Loose definition.
And now Grayson.
Like I said, my first edition was 5th. That was the playtest before it was fully released. And I didn't understand how magic worked in D&D, and I was all confused. Like, what am I doing? Do I just cast, or what? Yeah.
I started in 3.5, and it was a lot of fun because we'll get into later about that story I was just about to say. Started in 3.5, really fun edition, and yeah, like it was just real fun getting in there with all those peeps, you know. All right.
And our third question was, what was your first character's name, and kind of a small description on what that character was, what the race was, what their class was, and kind of what they were like. And the first person to answer that will be Grayson.
Well, my first character's name was Arius Raven back in the Palladium days. He was an elven mind mage with super telekinesis and super pyrokinesis. So I tended to look at a lot of people and just go, what? My DM wouldn't let me do that, even though it was reasonably within the bounds. I had a very strict DM when I first played, so I didn't really get to exercise those powers very much.
My first character's name was Zhao, or Junfan. He had two different names because he was a monk that had a split personality. Typical first character, split personality, all that jazz. But he was real awesome. He was, what was it? It was like one personality was a monk, the other one was a barbarian. Good combo.
And our fourth question, I'm gonna answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, you haven't
Yeah, I
answered.
forgot about myself. I'm so selfless.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so my first character was, his name was Kair, and, like, Kair. Really weird name, but I was never the best at making names. I'm still terrible at making names, and I was then. And I remember a tip somebody gave me. It's really dumb how I got the name. A tip somebody gave me was just take two objects you see and combine their name, and that's how you come up with the name. And I looked at a chair, and I looked at a couch. I was like, Care. Yeah. Didn't end well, because that name's kind of lame, and I'm glad I moved on from that character, and I'm a lot better with my characters now. He was a halfling rogue. Because, I don't know, I like halflings, but we'll get into that later. And rogues, I was always a big fan of. My first World of Warcraft character was a rogue, and I really loved the way rogues were, and I decided I would just try being the stealthy little sneaky guy that rolls like 10d6 every time I hit somebody from behind. That was old rogues, though.
All once.
Now it's now it's a bit more.
Well, no, you can still get up to like 10d6.
Yeah, that's true.
in fifth.
They're still pretty hardcore.
But next question is favorite race. Somebody already answered.
I said I would get into it later.
My favorite race is humans because I like how versatile they are. You know, they're not really geared toward one class or another. They can sort of just take anything that comes along. A lot of people are like, humans are boring. I'm a human in real life, but I'm like, human in a fantasy world. Whatever. Lord of the Rings was wrong.
Um, my favorite race was the halfling, as I said. I've always loved halflings. Ever since actually just always, I don't know, because I've always been kind of a shorter guy than everybody else. So I guess that was part of why I loved them. And, I don't know, they're my favorite race in the Lord of the Rings universe. And they're just my favorite race. Whenever it's a fantasy universe with halflings or hobbits, whatever you call them, I love them because they know how to treat you. They've got great homes. They've got great fires, great food, great drinks. And but when it comes down to business, when they have to go on an adventure, um, they get pretty brave and they really get up to the task. And that's what I've always loved about halflings. It's just how they act.
My favorite race is the half-elf. Because it's that marriage in between something mystical and something mundane. As we all know, humans, as Max said, are very versatile. They're very populous as well. The elves are just this fucking race that are like, there's just everything mystic is about them. And when they come together, you get something awesome. The combination of all the elven traits with the human qualities. However, they tend not to stay in one place, which is why they're always seen as adventurers. Wanderlust is a beautiful thing. Next.
All right. The next question
He's gonna
was.
kill me.
The next question was, what is your favorite class? And I'm the first to answer that, which sucks because I really haven't decided a favorite class yet because I love everything. I'm sort of a min-maxer, I guess. So I have that problem. I can't decide on what I like to do. I can't believe I haven't played a bard yet, considering they're the jack of all trades. But I guess you could say, nice shadow. I guess you could say, fighter's my favorite, because I've played a lot of fighters. One of my newest characters is a fighter, an Eldritch Knight, and I just really enjoy the stat increases they get and everything. I guess you could say that's kind of average, liking the fighter, but, I mean, they get some pretty kick-ass shit. Now for you, Grayson.
My favorite class usually are spellcasters, but my all-time favorite spellcaster class is definitely the druid. Just one spell in particular always brings me to it, and that's Call Lightning. You literally raise your hand to the sky and lightning bolts hit people. At least that's how it used to be. 5th edition, now you're just like, look, a cloud! Look, a lightning bolt! Unless you cast as a ritual, then it's just like, ah! Odin's Song?
Yep. Favorite class. That one's a little hard to pick because I've DM'd a lot more than I've played. But I'm probably gonna. It's either fighter or monk, but that's just like a real hard thing to pick between. It's probably fighter because it's that whole versatile stick, like how the humans are really versatile. Fighters are usually versatile, and usually if you're trying to go for a really powerful build, you'll take a couple levels in fighter just so you can get that edge. All right, next one.
Alright, the 6th question we decided was, what is your favorite alignment? And I believe Grayson will be starting off with this one.
I usually go for anything from lawful, neutral, and up. Just lawful neutral for that, like, code of conduct thing. And then the good characters, because I can't play an evil character. or someone who sits on one edge and doesn't do good or evil. I just can't really do it. Tried. Terrible at it. So,
So, for favorite alignment, the alignment I've had the most fun playing is Chaotic Evil. For one
He's a
fighter in
dick.
one fighter in particular, he was very crazy guy. Spiked armor. I think he had a sword and a shield, and
oh boy.
the the most notable thing this guy did was there was a witch, and she was like, semi-hostile, not really. So I ran up to her, and I grappled her and immediately knocked her out and coup de grace her. And then I tried to force her body on my spiked armor like a pair of pants. And they were on there for a little bit, but I failed the craft check, so they all fell off. And so I was sad with my new pants. So I grabbed them and I used the spikes on my helmet as a juicer. Uh, so that's a story we usually tell people. Just like D&D, you can do really, awesome shit
Like juice
like
a witch.
this.
Yeah. That's
So
usually also how we explain how Odin's son is in game. 'Cause
That's how that's one of the ones I've had most fun playing. But I've liked playing lawful too, like lawful any alignment really, except neutral. I don't know. I'm not really a big fan of playing at neutral. All right, pass it on.
all right, and my most favorite alignment I've ever played was probably Chaotic Good, and usually I just prefer being anything chaotic because I can get pretty crazy when I start to think about, like, I don't know, the shit I'm gonna do. I just kind of do whatever comes to mind. And I just kind of go with it. And chaotic just kind of works the best for that. So actually I haven't been chaotic evil yet, but I've been chaotic good, and I've been chaotic neutral, and I think I've also been a couple lawfuls. I think just lawful neutral, but lawful I wasn't a very big fan of because I gotta, rules. I'd rather just be chaotic, where I can do what I want to do. Because I always tend to play kind of crazier, does whatever he wants characters, like Darius. That was, he was a shaman. He was probably one of my favorites, because I got to hit on every chick in sight, even though his charisma was 9. And, I just got to be crazy. I had a lot of fun with that.
All right, next question on Grayson, I think. Yeah, every 3.
No, the next one's on you.
Oh wait, favorite alignment. Whoops, forgot to check it off.
Next one's, yeah, on you, and that
Favorite
is your favorite monster.
monster. Oh
Oh,
man.
boy.
My favorite monster is really hard to pick because for a year or two, I didn't have a monster manual whenever I was dungeon mastering, so I'd make my own, and that always went everywhere. Uh, but one of my favorite ones isn't really a monster, but it could be in the monster manual. Was this golden warforged named Adonis.
Well,
And that was like his type of Warforged.
I'm glad I had
And-
to leave halfway through that fight.
Yeah. But I really liked Adonis just because the players got what he was about fairly quickly. Like, he was made for combat and to win wars, and the players were able to just figure that out just by fighting him. But he was like super combat dominant, but his mind wasn't like fully developed yet. But yeah, that's probably my favorite monster. Not an official monster, but one I've made, as is the Dungeons and Dragons way. That's it.
Alright, and my favorite monster, I haven't decided yet, and I probably never will. Because, I mean, if it's a monster and it's hostile to me, I will enjoy killing it.
Need
I
to
don't
get one
know.
of these.
I haven't, yeah, and I don't have one of those, so I can't, like, decide which one I like the most. But, you know what? My favorite monster is the owl bear. Just because a group of them is called a
Hootenanny.
hootenanny. Why not? There's my favorite monster.
Good man.
Yeah. Instead of just saying any, like a lame human.
Yeah, like a jackass.
Like a human,
Like,
versatile,
we fucking
everything.
Hey, take my glowy middle finger.
No.
Yes.
Fucking elf
No.
over here.
Anyway,
Shut up. Not a doubt. You guys suck.
yeah, so owlbear. Although I have yet to fight an owlbear because last time I encountered an owlbear, it was in Hootenanny, and we didn't want to fuck with that, so we just left.
You mean the ranger left?
Well, I mean, he left and then warned us and said we should get the fuck out of here, and we were like, "Yep, good idea." So,
My favorite monster is a lich. Funny enough. And going back to the whole druid thing, you know, obviously all my druids have been like undead, bad, most unnatural thing there is. Fuck them. The lich, double bad. Not only is it like an almost immortal undead, but they cast arcane spells, which is not natural magic. So, it just kind of works. That and every lich I've come by so far has actually left a pretty good mark on me. Like, Odin Sun's campaign lich that we just did, awesome lich. Took us forever to get to him. And then Shadowfoot's campaign lich was pretty fun. I almost shot a flaming arrow in up his crotch.
yeah, Odin's
But-
son ended up grabbing onto his leg and stabbing him repeatedly.
I specifically, I threw a dagger in him,
Yeah.
and he was flying, and I jumped on him, and I grabbed the dagger so I could hold on to him. And I was a black dragonborn, so there was just acid all over his face.
Yeah,
Don't ask how he got to him.
I jumped
he,
off a building. The end.
Odin's son, you'll realize as you watch us play D&D, he gets unnaturally good rolls, and it pisses me off when I'm DMing.
It also sucks when he's DMing because
Unnaturally
death.
Because unnaturally good rolls from the
Yeah.
monsters. But yeah, we never even got to finish
Like
my
Adonis's
campaign.
10 crits.
Yeah.
I wasn't there for that, thankfully.
Yeah.
Alright. So, the next question. What is your favorite setting in the D&D for a campaign? And I'll be answering first. And I don't know too much about D&D settings, like, you know, the different realms and stuff, but I mean, I know, I guess, a short description of all of them, and I would have to say that Faerun is my favorite, considering Baldur's Gate has always kind of been one of my favorite places, just because when I was young I played Baldur's Gate games.
Dark Alliance.
Yeah, I played Dark Alliance a lot, and that's in Baldur's Gate. So, I mean, I don't know, I just kind of loved it ever since I was little. I always recognized Baldur's Gate, so when I was starting to learn about D&D, I was like, I know that place! Yeah. Alright, and
My favorite setting is Eberron. I'm a huge fan of steampunk, and Eberron's obviously the combo of magic and technology. So that just fits in perfectly. And it's just awesome. The adventurers come out of a tavern getting ready to leave, and there's an airship waiting to take them somewhere. So it's pretty damn cool.
My favorite campaign setting, I think I'm gonna have to agree with Shadowfoot, is the Forgotten Realms, because it's just really like, I don't know, it's so well developed over the time that it's been around, and it really feels good because they're just all the different characters, and there's literally hundreds upon thousands of years of history written for it already, and it's just like you can really feel at home in the Forgotten Realms. All right.
the next
Oh,
the next question. This is just going to be a quick one. I guess we could explain why our choice
Yeah.
too.
no, we're gonna delve into everything. Why not?
The next one
Yeah.
is whether you prefer playing on a grid or without a grid.
Grid or gridless?
For those of you that don't know, I'll explain real quick. Is when you're playing D&D, and mostly just when you're in combat, but a lot of people will do it while you're role playing and stuff like that. Is you can play on like a gridded map where you have everything set up, and like each square is like 5 feet, stuff like that. Or you can play just with your mind, like maybe just have your figures on the table to show like if you're walking what pattern you'll be in, or and it's just kind of gridless. You use your entire imagination for for what everything looks like. And I believe Grayson will be starting us off with this one.
I like gridless, just because I like that whole theater of the mind thing. And when you're not focusing on where you are on a grid, you have that more freedom to actually sit there while things are going and just imagine what's going on. And like, oh, there's the trees, there's the wizard with the fireball in his face.
I prefer grid because of my experience of the people I play D&D with, the attention span.
You're
That.
20 feet away from them. Okay.
No,
How far am I?
Exactly. It's like every round. It's just like, okay, I'm 10 feet away, right? No, he ran away, like 40 feet.
What happens if I fart in a bag of holding?
Shut up, Corey. I don't care what your name is. Shut up. But I
Shut
like
up,
grid
person.
because it's it can usually keep people entertained too, and I just sort of like that I like assistance sort of for the visualization. You like there's the mat and everything's drawn out, so it's easier for people to like imagine the room they're in.
Or you could have
And-
Dwarf and Forge.
You could have Dwarf Forge. That's gonna count as grid. Fuck you.
Yeah, well, that's
Um,
what I was saying, because those have grids
yeah.
on them.
Yeah. Okay. But and like I also just like like minis. Like people can get really involved with a character when they get a mini that really represents their character. Like recently I obtained this paladin because somebody Shadowfoot accidentally threw somebody else's mini into my bag,
You picked
it
it
was-
up off the table.
and it was a paladin. But I thought that paladin looked so cool, and I was like, I will trade you things for this paladin. It was only like a $2 paladin, so that was whatever. And then I was like, okay, I'll play a paladin eventually. This was whenever I hadn't played in probably a year or so. And another one of our buds wanted to DM a week, and so I was like, oh, I'll play paladin. Then that paladin turned into an Oathbreaker paladin, so my really divine-looking paladin mini didn't really represent the character, but more of what he once was. But I still like that symbolism and all that. So
It was a cool looking figure too.
yeah, he was awesome.
I mean, because
Icons of the Realm, Icons of the Realm, Tyranny of Dragons, Human Paladin, super cool.
Yeah, because I had used it the week before for my character, even though he looked nothing like him, because my character was a shaman, which is a player-created domain of the cleric. So, didn't look anything like him. I'm going to agree with Odin's son on this one. I prefer playing with a grid, because pretty much what he said, it helps with visualization, and it helps with, tiny attention. It helps with memory. Because instead of people, like, assuming they're 10 feet from something, they can just look at the fucking grid, and they can see where the character is. And it keeps everybody's attention in the game, if you ask me, because there's actually something in the center of the table for everybody to be looking at constantly, instead of, like, them using the theater of their mind and just kind of being like, goblins. So,
Goblins.
Goblin.
so yeah, I agree with that. The grid's definitely really helpful, especially considering when you get Dwarven Forge shit, it has grids on it, which, I mean, who doesn't want to play with Dwarven Forge stuff?
You guys are all over Dwarven Forge.
Have you seen it?
I have.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's real amazing. Like they even tested its durability by hitting it with a hammer.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna have to get Dwarven Forge for our campaign sometime.
Yeah, I'm sure people would enjoy
Aftershock
videos of that.
Legends.
What?
Aftershock Legends.
So yeah, after Sword Coast Legends, the
Yep, of course.
new Dungeons and Dragons video game coming out later this year in 2015. You can find out more at dndwizards.com.
This is
Not
not
being
product
paid to say
placement.
that.
We are not getting
This is not
paid for
product
this at
placement. We're
all.
not getting paid for anything,
We
as
just
you can
really
tell by
like it, and
production
we're going to
quality.
share it
It'd
with
be
you
great if
because
we
we're
did.
crazy.
You know, maybe give us a couple free copies
I'm
of the
not
game.
going to beg
Test.
for money, no. Hey, that'd be awesome, but I'm just going to say it because I like it.
Yeah.
Give me money.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Fifth edition.
Give me free money. Give me money.
And the 10th question is what is your favorite aspect of
D&D?
just D&D overall? And Odinson will be starting us off with that one.
So, like, this question, it's probably going to be the hardest question to answer. Favorite aspect of Dungeons and Dragons? I just feel like it's really about, like, this, like, why you like dreams, you know? Like, in dreams, this, you know, even the sky can't limit you. You're just like, above and beyond everything. Like, you can be anybody, you can represent anything, and it's just like the best, like, form of freedom to me.
All right. See, this was a hard one for me to decide because there's nothing I don't love about D&D. Like, there is literally nothing about D&D where I'm sitting at the table and I'm like, ugh, we've got to do this. Because it's just everything about D&D is amazing. But after thinking it through, I've decided that my favorite part of D&D is the dice. Love the dice. Just because they can turn whatever you planned on happening, they can make anything happen. Everything that happens depends on the dice. The turn you take in combat depends on the dice. Whether you successfully talk that bar wench into following you to your room, it depends on the dice. Whether you actually hit something depends on the dice. The damage you're doing to something depends on the dice. The dice just... anything can happen when you're using a die. Like, I'm going to make an attack roll right now. I'm going to kick Odinson in the crotch.
Bullshit.
I rolled an 8. That missed.
You're damn right it misses.
See, that could have gone anyway, but I usually get terrible rolls anyway, so, at least with this die fucking hates me or something.
Yeah. Real quick, though. I just want to show off my
Your
little...
kick-ass die.
My dwarven dice is what they're called.
Oh, why don't we take this moment to show off our favorite D20s. This is my favorite D20, the one I'm probably
I already
gonna be
showed
using.
mine.
Yeah.
Oh.
You can't really tell on my screen, but this one's purple and black with gold numbers.
I'm trying to find the bottom to my dice thing because it came open in my bag.
Just get your D20. Yeah, those dwarven dice are pretty cool.
Yeah, like there's axes and hammers engraved on them and whatnot.
Alright, and now, Grayson, what is your favorite aspect of D&D?
My favorite aspect of D&D has to be the freedom. Just like the fact that, like, in regular games, if you wanted to walk up to, like, I'm trying to find a good example here. Anything can happen. You can do anything. Like, last time, one of the times we played, I was looking for information on any reason why some kid might have been, you know, possessed. So I needed information on the 9 hells. So I walked in the bookstore thinking maybe they'll have something, and they were just like, get out. So anything can happen. And then right afterwards, 2 of our players got into a bar brawl.
I've heard about that.
It was a fighter and a rogue.
The rogue auto-crit him.
Wasn't it 2 tieflings?
It was both.
Yeah,
Yeah,
2
they're both
tieflings.
tieflings.
They hellish rebuked each other.
Oh, God.
All right. Well, that's gonna do it for our, introduction piece, and us talking about our whatever about Dungeons and Dragons. So if you like it, you can subscribe. We'll come out with more content. We'll make stupid faces as we've been doing throughout here. We'll shit on each other, stuff like that. No, we're
Let's
not
go
a
to
porn
play.
channel.
On Shadowfoot.
No, yeah, don't expect us to
Yeah, no,
do
don't.
any of that.
Don't
He
subscribe
was-
if you think we're about poop.
No,
Because that's just, no.
won't happen.
That's not us, man. What are you thinking? Okay, so, I'm Odinson,
I'm Shadowfoot.
And I'm Grayson.
and we're Attack of Opportunity, signing off. You guys have a good one.
Thanks for watching.